And after the George Floyd tragedy, what we have seen is this extraordinary mobilization across the country of people of every walk of life, every race, every creed, who say, we're past time to do something about this. We understand we're not going to fix it all in one day, but we're going to take this seriously and we're going to start now.
Seeing this large crowd here in Portland, Oregon, it gives me hope as a black mother and for my children.
Here you see Portland police stopping to assist a member of the press badly injured. He's taken away in an ambulance, a fate so many have experienced in more than 2 months of unrest in Portland.
Many protesters claiming they've been arrested by law enforcement in unmarked vehicles. The Homeland Security Department insisting the agents are acting appropriately.
This is an egregious overreaction on the part of the federal officers. This is not a de-escalation strategy. This is flat out urban warfare.
This only seems to fuel the passions of protesters, the crowds growing night by night as they call for an end to police brutality and racial injustice.
DHS says the operation in Portland is separate from the president's announcement Wednesday that he's surging hundreds of federal agents to cities he says are plagued by violent crime.
We are ready, willing, and able to go in there with great force.
We are not going to agree to or accept anything like what's happening on the streets of Portland, Oregon. We're not going to have unnamed federal agents patrolling our streets, pretending to be the police, sweeping people off and denying them of their constitutional rights.
But I think ultimately, with a combination of good public health measures and a vaccine, that we may not eradicate it, but I think we will bring it down to such a low level that we will not be in the position that we're in right now.
If the stimulus can keep people afloat, then we have to deal with recovery. And the recovery is building back, but not just building back, as you've been talking about, building back better.
You can't separate out the public health crisis from the economy. If you want the economy growing again, people have to feel safe.
I'm Barry Gordon, and I'm cognitively there.
And I'm James Farr, and I hope you're here.
And this is NewsRap, live at 5.
The home edition.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. Got it. Okay. Now I know that I can go on with the show. I don't know if you folks were following all of that insanity. That he's talking about basically a test for dementia that he took a few years ago. And actually they showed a copy of the test, and those weren't the 5 words, but who's quibbling. And he could remember those 5 words, I guess, 2 minutes later.
I got
so I feel so much better. I feel safe now.
Hold on, Barry. I got one question that I need you to answer correctly.
Okay.
And then we can move forward.
All right.
Is Donald Trump the first racist president in the history of the United States?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then we can carry on because
absolutely not. But I think a lot of people hit it better than he does, but you've got to look at, well, first of all, I mean, you had, I'm not going to call Washington a racist, but he was a slaveholder.
I will. He was racist.
Yeah. Jefferson was a slaveholder.
Racist.
Well, in those days, everyone was a racist.
Everyone was racist. call it what it is.
Basically, everyone was racist.
Right.
To be white was to be racist. Mm-hmm. And then Jackson, of course, was a major racist. There were incidents of cruelty that they talked about.
You passed. I think America knows.
We lost your sound, James.
You lost my sound. I think America knows that our presidents were racist.
Woodrow Wilson, racist. Mm-hmm. Showed Birth of a Nation in the White House.
Not the one I would have wanted to see, but
no, not the one. No, that wasn't done yet. But yes. Yeah, the one from the old days.
So, you know, again, we don't have to go back through a deep dive in the history of America's racist history. There it is. You have it. It is. What else is going on in your world, Barry?
The same thing that's going on in everyone's world.
You have more time to enjoy wine. I got it.
I mean, Gail and I were talking about that. This is probably the most collective experience that we've had as a nation since the Great Depression. Because, you know, the financial crisis didn't affect everybody.
Right.
9/11 affected us emotionally, but it didn't affect everybody. The pandemic flu in 1918 affected everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the Great Depression, and since then, you know, people have rallied us as a nation, but we've never been directly, humanly affected, all of us as a nation, as this has done.
I mean, at least in my lifetime and in your lifetime, we've seen regional catastrophes and disasters, and there's whole lot of empathy that's involved with folks, but boundaries, no borders. It's omnipresent. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
All we can do is adjust. But what's happening up in Portland though? That's because someone was just telling me I don't hear about that in the news.
Well, Portland, of course, is, you know, I believe, and by the way, folks, if you want to comment, please do. You're probably watching us either on the Arroyo channel or on Facebook. And if you're watching us on Facebook, please comment. And if you're watching us on the Arroyo channel, get to Facebook and comment, because we'd love to hear from you. And James is a wonderful supporter of our show, and he's frequent commenter, even when he's not guest hosting. And by the way, buddy, thank you for coming on and guest hosting. Andre had a quick journalistic emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, because he's the guy at Pasadena now, and
he is the man.
Happens, he's got to be there.
He has to be there.
So I really want to thank you for filling in and doing this.
My pleasure, Barry. I came to talk with you, but I'm staying for the popcorn. You know, so. There used to be popcorn on set.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make your own popcorn. I know. I just grabbed a chocolate chip cookie to make me feel more at home, you know, in the studio, because we used to have those too.
Isn't it appropriate use of power for the president to send federal troops or federal law enforcement agents, you know, without insignias, you know, kind of boogeyman-ish?
No, I mean, that's you know, that's Nazi Germany territory. I hate to equate anything to Nazi Germany, but that's where you find that, or you find that in, you know, third world, you know, nations in Africa and Latin America. That's where you find that kind of behavior. I heard something, though, interesting that gave me, in a weird way, some comfort, because now some of the protesters are the right-wing anti-government people that support Donald Trump, who were angry a month ago that they had to wear masks. And now they're wearing masks and they're really angry at this incredible abuse of federal power. Because they don't like seeing power. You know, they don't like it, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a Republican. I mean, it's a very kind of anti-government movement that he heads up in a weird way. That was the whole talk about the deep state, right? And getting us riled up about that. Well, now people are seeing what he's doing. And they're saying, and one woman said, you know, forget him. You know, I voted for him in 2016. No way I'm going to vote for him again. So those people are either going to stay home or vote for the libertarian, or, you know, or bite their lip and vote for Biden. But they're not going to vote for Trump. And every move that he makes right now is really kind of a self-destructive move. But I mean, it's frightening. And if he does that in other states, again, that's going to be incredibly destructive to him.
Well, he's already, in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot has, conceded, if you want to call it that, with allowing him to, with federal agents and to come in to kind of help quell or excite. I don't know which way it's going to go, but to do something. But
has she now said she wants him there? I don't think she wants him there.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Last I read, yeah.
Because the last that I saw, she was, in fact, the clip that we played, she's very much against it. But
she was against it. They spoke, I believe it was Wednesday night. He put a call into her office, put out a statement.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think it will begin tomorrow. I'll have to double check that. But yeah. But something you were saying about, the people who, this kind of deep state, who, I don't want to wear a mask or, don't tread on my rights and, kind of all of this exaggerated patriotism, right?
Right.
Doesn't the government say you have to wear pants when you come out the house or a dress or shorts or something? You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's local. There's no federal law that says you have to wear pants. That's just a local thing.
That's a local ordinance.
That's a local thing.
Okay. Well, aren't masks being mandated locally?
So that fits the federalist mode of, everything being with the states and counties and townships and, farms or whatever. So that fits that, but there's no federal law about that.
I mean, what do you think about his big idea, his big realization that it's going to get worse before it gets better? And everybody,
isn't that? I know, but he's still saying it's going to get worse before it gets better, but it's just going to disappear. So it's going to get worse, then it's going to get better, then it's going to disappear. And there's absolutely no evidence that it's going to disappear. None whatsoever.
I know Trump is a big opponent of cancel culture. So how dare he decide he's just going to cancel the coronavirus, right? Like it's it's here, right? I mean, he wants to erase that part of history as well.
Well, he also wants, our kids to, jump into the deep end of the pool. Mm-hmm. And we'll probably talk about that on the other side of the local brief, because I want to talk to you about, because I know you've been dealing with the superintendent and, and how things might happen on a local level in terms of the schools. So we want to get into that. We will get into that. Again, I invite you to join us on Facebook. Please do. And in the meantime, here's our local brief.
This is your local news brief for Friday, July 24th, 2020. The city of Pasadena reports 1,822 confirmed coronavirus cases, a 202 case increase from last week. With 3 additional virus-related deaths, the death toll is now at 104. City data from last week shows an average of 31 cases per day, with current surges in those under 40 years old and the Latinx community. As of Thursday, California has seen approximately 423,000 confirmed cases. Several restaurants in the city have opened outdoor seating to accommodate public health department orders. The Pasadena Finance Committee is discussing the possibility of funding additional outdoor dining options. Funding would be derived from the city's general fund, the off-street parking fund, and the Old Pasadena Parking Meter Fund. The Parklet program, a program that would allow businesses to use curbside parking as a dining section, would also benefit from funding. The Rose Bowl's potential for physically distanced events, such as additional drive-in theater showings and hosting smaller concerts intended for amphitheaters, is also in discussion. The Pasadena Unified School District has joined the NAACP in the lawsuit against the Secretary of Education, BETSY DEVOS. Earlier this month, DEVOS instated a rule that would redirect some funding given to public schools from the CARES Act to private schools. In an official statement from the NAACP, President and CEO Derek Johnson said of DEVOS, "She is robbing public school children of desperately needed relief and diverting it to private schools." Several other districts and parents of students nationwide have joined the NAACP in the lawsuit. The Pasadena Public Safety Committee agreed on a proposal that would form a community police oversight commission, as well as having an independent police auditor, the mayor, the city council, the city manager, the police chief, and 3 qualified community groups would select 1 commission member respectively. The commission's objective would be to review and make recommendations to the police chief, the city council, and the city manager. It would also consider community input and observe and issue statistics on use of force, among other duties. Although 2 members of the city council have expressed their hesitations, the entire council will discuss the proposal in the next city council meeting. Don't forget about the 2020 census. More information can be found at my2020census.gov.
Well, have you been to, because you have kids, have you been to the drive-in movies at the Rose Bowl?
My wife and kids and my niece went yesterday, and I stayed home with the 5-year-old and my mom. And they had a blast. It's like $30 for the entire car. They brought snacks with them.
They're not selling snacks,
enjoyed
right?
it. I mean, it was something new to do.
But they're not selling snacks, so you got to bring your own.
No, the concession stands are open.
Oh, but how are they doing that? Socially distanced?
Yes, you can actually order on an app and go. It's basically walk up, pick up.
Curbside pickup.
Yeah, so they have both options. You can stand in line if you choose to, or order through an app. I think it's a cool break at doing something different.
It is cool. How often did they do it?
Thursday, I want to say Thursday through Sunday. And I think it goes through the end of this month.
And is it the same movie for that 4 days, or do they?
No, they have different offerings. You know, they sell out fast. I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the season is sold out. But
wow.
Yeah, it's something to do.
Well, the kids have to be going crazy. I mean, they have to be stir crazy right now. Are you noticing that, or are they handling it better than we are?
Well, kids are rather resilient, as you know, and kind of adjust to what is a new normal. It's mom and dad that are pulling their hair out. Me trying to match the energy of a 5-year-old is just exhausting, to say the least.
So what is the thinking right now at PUSD? Are they following the lead of LA County? Are they following the lead of Los Angeles City? I mean, where are they coming up with their reopening ideas?
Well, they won't reopen for on-campus learning, and so
they're not. Okay, that decision's been made.
That decision has been made. Dr. McDonald, in an effort to be proactive, they were planning a hybrid and distance model. Just last week, they went back to the school board. School board approved to give him the authority to ultimately make the decision. And then the next day, the governor made an announcement that all schools that are in counties on the watch list cannot open until that county or whatever has been off of the watch list for 2 weeks. So effectively, nobody's really opening up in those 32 counties. Some schools and private schools and districts have the opportunity to appeal for a waiver, but I don't know how likely that is. You know, it requires community. There's a whole criteria of things that need to happen, but PUSD has decided that it will be going 100% distant learning to start the school year off next month, August 17th.
And that'll last until when? When are they thinking that?
Till infinity and beyond. No.
I hope not.
What they're calling
feeling
it,
that way, but I hope
right.
Not. Yeah.
Right. No, they're saying for the first semester. So that would take us through the
first of the year.
Christmas. Yeah. So I guess they would reassess then. I knew in June they weren't going back.
Yeah.
It just felt that way, and I understood kind of what was happening back channel for the planning. But it's just going to be such a different experience for students. I understand them needing to be socialized. I understand the peer learning. I mean, there are a lot of arguments for them being in the environment, but then there's also a lot of argument for the concern of parents, teachers, community members, stakeholders. So like it or love it or hate it, I think it's the best decision right now. And, you know, this concern that our kids are going to be left behind, they're going to be behind. Who sets the standard, really? And some people will probably throw darts at me for this. I'm perfectly okay with protecting my children first, enriching them in other ways, And, you know, we'll continue to learn and do what we need to do. But most importantly, you know.
Well, exactly. I mean, do we want to have a child that's not left behind but is sick? I don't think so. You know, I don't think we want to risk that. And particularly, I don't think we want to risk a child being a carrier to the more vulnerable people in the population.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps getting lost in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with Trump, who says, oh, kids are fine and, you know, nothing ever happens to them. Well, first of all, you know, a 5-year-old just died in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
There have been young children that have died in New York. There have been young children that have died in California.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's rare, it's not impossible. So who wants to be the parent to take on that responsibility of saying, well, you know, it's rare, but go ahead, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know, most parents, and that's what we're seeing in the polls, most parents are saying, no, you know, I don't want to experiment with my child's well-being.
Overwhelmingly, the response from PUSD parents was distant learning. It just, no one's willing and ready to, you know, to.
Right.
I don't see kids socially distancing. I mean, horse playing, kids are going to be kids. And,
of course they are.
And they need to be socialized to understand the risk, but it's a bit much to ask or even expect them to even be developmentally capable.
Well, what's funny to me is that I have a granddaughter who's 5 years old, right? And we can't get her off the iPad. I mean, she can do that for 8 hours a day, but tell a kid they have to do that for 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day, and all of a sudden it's a whole different thing, isn't it? It's like, no, you know, you can't make me do that.
Yeah, the challenge, and we won't know until we see it, right? And so when you're dealing with production values of Disney and Nick and you know, all of that other stuff, when you slide in these elementary type graphics that it's almost like digital to analog, right? The kid is going to look at this like, this is boring. It's not keeping my attention.
Well, why don't they use Disney? And in other words, why don't these companies now start to get more active in helping the school districts deliver curriculum?
I'm sure that is the next.
I would think that's the next big push. They may say, well, it's not going to last that long, but frankly, I think a lot of that is the future. I mean, people are not going to be wanting to spend as much as we spend on brick and mortar if they don't have to.
No. We saw it going this way, and we're here, and so we, you know, for my 5-year-old, this is his beginning, and this is all he will know.
Right.
For however long this lasts. So I don't see it being that big of an issue. I mean, look at us right now. You know, we used to have to physically come into a studio, and if we could have done this way, I did over 200 shows this way, but people said it's not broadcast. And next we see everyone is having to do this, and it becomes the standard, the normal, and what people are willing to accept and ingest.
And it is broadcast. You know,
and it is broadcast.
It's definitely broadcast. So, and you know, we can only get better at it. The longer we have to do it, we'll get better and better at it. The other side of the age spectrum, of course, is college. And, you know, I taught at Cal State LA. I just retired last January, and they're staying closed for the entire fall semester. So they were going to be hybrid. They were going to have some in-class work, and especially for things like labs. But I think they've even decided not to do that now.
Yeah, I'm confident that this new, yet kind of remodeled, reimagined online learning, when I took online classes 15, 16 years ago, it was hard. It was difficult. You didn't have the Zoom. There were so many features that weren't available then that are here now that makes it more experiential. I've been able to guest lecture at Occidental College through this type of platform, whereas before, I mean, you just couldn't do things like that. You know, you'd either have to pre-record it and send it in, or
That's right.
Actually physically come to campus. So I'm not worried about, you know, the Zoomers and even the kids behind them dealing with this technology and learning this technology, because they are growing up with this technology. My concerns is what's happening locally with the police department and police oversight. That's what I'm concerned about.
Yes. So in the next minute, sum all that up for us, James.
We'll decide on a proposal that was sponsored by Councilmember John Kennedy and the mayor. It will provide they want 13 people to sit on a commission. They want to hire an independent auditor that will report to the city manager. It's not the best solution, but it is a solution. And understanding what the challenges are to get the type of oversight through the city council that the community wants. We still have some work to do.
What is their power? And I know we're going to be going, but what is their power to deal with officer-involved violence?
Power, none. I mean, it's a longer answer, but in short, none.
So they're
nothing
really,
more than what can be done right now. They're
not really a civilian review board the way
not
New
at all.
York is thinking about doing it.
It's a commission. I'm a commissioner on another commission, accessibility and disability. We advise council. We don't make policy. The planning commission has more authority than what this police oversight commission will have.
Oh boy. Well, stay tuned. So last 30 seconds, I think. I haven't seen any time things, but I'm looking at the clock and I know we're running there. Who do you want Biden to pick for number 2? And who do you think Biden will pick for number 2?
Well, I don't know who he should pick, but from what I'm hearing in community, if it's not an African-American woman, he's going to have a problem. But I like Keisha Bottoms.
Okay. All right. That's it for us. James, thank you so much, man.
As always, Barry. Cowabunga.
Turtle power. It's great to see you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
I'm Barry Gordon.
And I'm James Farr.
Remember, person, woman, man, camera, TV. Okay. This is NewsRap, live at 5.